captain of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, and one-time governorship aspirant in Lagos State, Bob Okoroji, has said former governor of Abia State, Orji Kalu, is not in jail simply because he is corrupt, but because he opened his mouth against President Muhammadu Buhari and his political interests. He pointed out that Buhari is incubating corruption and there are many other political figures who are by far more corrupt and have stolen more than the former Abia governor, but all walking around freely, taking chieftaincy titles and marrying more wives because they are aligned with the president. Okoroji, a Lagos-based lawyer who spoke with Obinna Ezugu, noted, however, that Kalu and all those who have stolen deserve to be punished for their crimes, but such punishment should not be selective. Okoroji, who also spoke about the rift between Buhari's national security advisor, Babagana Mugono, and his chief of staff, Abba Kyari, noted that it was proof of Buhari's incompetence that he cannot control his aides. The recently leaked memo written by NSC Mugono accusing Abba Kyari of undermining him and even Buhari has continued to generate reactions. Isn't it disappointing that such is happening between the president's closest aides? There are a couple of things that those appointees of Buhari, especially those working with him at the presidency, have done that suggests that indeed they are like masters and kings unto themselves with little or no control. But it also underscores the level of incompetency on the part of the man who ought to be the commander-in-chief, the ultimate decision maker in this country. There are a couple of things that have been reported in the media which are, in my view, very embarrassing and shocking. These men would take certain decisions without recourse to due process, without recourse to chain of command in the administrative structure of the country. On this particular incident of the back and forth accusation between Mugono and Abba Kyari, untimely, ultimately, the president should be held responsible. It's the kind of thing that we saw happening between the Kano state governor, Abdullahi Ganduji, and the foremost traditional ruler of the state, Muhammadu Sanusi II. We read that the president said he was not going to get involved in the conflict. All these are the kinds of conflicts that border on not just governance but also on security. This is a conflict between a sitting governor of and a foremost traditional ruler. It has security implications because you never can tell. It may result in breakdown of law and order because they all have their respective rabid supporters. But it boils down to the level of lawlessness, arbitrariness, and tolerance for corruption and overindulgence on the part of those who are supposed to be in charge of the country. I have always made it clear that I have little no confidence in Buhari as a person from the very time he indicated interest to run for president. I look at his antecedents in the early 80s, his failures, and of course years after he hasn't improved himself in any form, yet he was voted to lead the country in 2019. It's unfortunate because we are all suffering the consequences. We all can see how the country is drifting, the extent of the bloodshed going on everywhere. We can see the so-called anti-corruption fight, which is actually not a fight against corruption. They are not fighting corruption, they incubating and celebrating corruption basically. Otherwise, how do you explain the fact that the individuals that you and I know are custodians of corruptions are not being touched? All of you here is just propaganda. All you hear is just propaganda and glitches. Oh, corruption is fighting back. Corruption is bad for the country. It is destroying the economy and all that. No substance. Recoveries have been made of Abacha loot, but you can't trace the money. There are people who at one time or the other led the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) and made away with millions of the recovered funds, and today nobody can trace them. I'm not surprised about what is happening among Buhari's lieutenants. Just as you find their open confrontation very embarrassing, they are so many others, many other things happening that you can't explain. That is why sometimes you ask yourself, is there really a president? Is the president is the president that Nigerians elected really there, or are we seeing a shadow of the person we voted into power? I don't want to go further than that, but these events are very worrisome for those who want growth, those who want some orderliness in the society, those who want to make progress, those who want justice and fairness, those who want balance, and those who want some sense of decency at the leadership level. Every society is a caricature of its leadership. But in terms of corruption, they have jailed Orji Kalu, Jolly Nyame, and a couple of other governors. He said those are isolated cases of witch hunting. Even if we know the many millions Orji Kalu have stolen from Abia State, there are thousands of them that have not been touched. When a particular corrupt politician is considered to be antagonistic to the government or critical of the government or not in support of the government, they quickly isolate him and use him as a scapegoat. But if he's cooperating, they won't touch him. So it is not out of the determination to fight corruption that Kalu was picked up, hastily tried and put in prison. It is simply that he opened his mouth too wide against Buhari. Otherwise, there are those who have stolen much money than he has, and those who are deeper in corruption than he is, but are still working freely, receiving chieftaincy titles, marrying more wives, and of course, reinforcing the fact that nothing can happen to those who are in support of Buhari. One is by no means suggesting that corruption should be tolerated, whether you are for or against Buhari. No, but let the fight against corruption be seen to be objective and having nothing to do with political affiliation. So if I'm your friend, if I should also be given the same level of justice as if I were not your friend, that is what is fairness and justice. Corruption is indeed a danger to the country and to everybody, but nobody should be protected on the grounds of political affiliation. And a question again is being put to this man, saying, but when Buhari came on board, he appointed his relatives into key positions and justified it by saying he was appointing those he knew and trusted. You would think it's not proving to be counterproductive, because when you put very familiar people around you, there's always no fear and not accountability. He said, well, Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president, once said that nepotism is a species of corruption. And that is true. When appointments are made not with due regard to competence, qualifications, or experience, but based on where you come from and your closeness to the man who is appointing, then you should expect nothing less than the kind of things you are seeing in the Nigerian presidency under Buhari, because many of those appointed to hold positions they are not qualified to hold, or to be in positions they cannot handle. We begin to see those positions as their rights, and then they are not going to make any positive impact because they know that whoever appointed them is behind them and they can do anything and get away with it. So all the levers of power are taken over by these individuals, and they do whatever they like, they take whatever they want, they kill whoever they want to kill, and everything is going out of hand. So guys, these are the submissions of a Okoroji, and we made to understand it's a chieftain of the All Progressives Grand Alliance ABGAD and the one-time governorship aspirant in Lagos State, Bob Okoroji. Of course, it is what we have known and it is what we have been seeing. All of this is are playing out, but there's something that he said which people have been saying as well too, that before this man came on board, when he indicated or showed interest that he wanted to be the president of this country, to be in charge of this country, that they looked at his antecedents, and that was what a lot of people were crying about, talking about. But those who did not even know much about this president, just felt that, oh, we needed a change, we just need a new, we want a relief from what has been happening. And at the end of the day, he came in, and the unfortunate thing is there that he was able to make sure that he came for the second time. How he came about it, that is what is still left with us. But from all indications, there is the level of incompetency with this president is so high. Everything that has been happening, and that is why in the case of they talk about Ganduje, and that is why again, even in the case of what is happening in Edo State, this man cannot call these two people, Oshomole and Obaseki, cannot just call them. These people are in his party. We are even talking about or somebody is even talking about Ganduje and what is this man's name, an emir of Kano. Let's even say they are even far apart because they are not even doing the same jobs. But the same people who are in the same party with him, what has he done? Nothing. He will say, I don't have he will not say anything. We are even talking about that. What about the wife that is always coming out? He can't even control his house. He can't even tell his wife what and what. The woman does not have access to him. Just like this man is saying that, are we just having a shadow of the person that we elected? Do we still have a president? He doesn't want to go into detail. We know that statement carries volumes. So, by and large, the level of incompetence of this president is obvious to the whole world. It's obvious and it's thinking, honestly, if you ask me. He has said many things concerning Orji Kalu because he opened his mouth and what have you. But I don't know what he's talking about, whether he has an information concerning that, because I've never heard a Orji Kalu speaking against him. Orji Kalu has been talking about because he wanted to contest. Orji Kalu was even blaming Tinubu, that it was Tinubu that made him to go to jail. But all of them, they are the same. The level of incompetency is what is really affecting us, most especially from the president. The whole thing is just it's just confusing and tiring. So guys, let us hear your opinion concerning what this Okoroji has said, that Buhari incubating corruption, that Orji Kalu jailed for opening mouth too wide against him. So guys, leave your comment below and let's have your take. Thank you very much. Bye.